It is in this serene landscape that the stories of yokai, the mysterious spirits and creatures of Japanese folklore, have been born, passed down through generations, each tale carrying with it the echoes of a time long ago, when the natural and supernatural seemed to exist side by side. As we embark on this journey, it is important to remember that these stories are not merely tales of fright or horror, but reflections of human fears, desires, and the unknown mysteries that have always surrounded us. The world of yokai is vast and varied, filled with beings that can be mischievous, frightening, wise, or sorrowful, and they have shaped Japanese culture in ways that are subtle yet profound, appearing in art, literature, festivals, and daily life in forms both visible and unseen. To listen to these stories is to step softly into a space where imagination blends with history, where the whisper of the past carries a gentle weight that can be both unsettling and strangely comforting. It is a world where the line between reality and myth blurs, and yet, within that blurring, there is a quiet beauty, a rhythm to the tales that makes them perfect companions for reflection, contemplation, and, if one wishes, sleep. The concept of yokai is deeply rooted in the natural world. Rivers, mountains, forests, and even ordinary household objects are imbued with life, energy, and sometimes a consciousness that mirrors human emotion. The Japanese people, observing the patterns of nature and the cycles of the seasons, crafted stories to explain what could not be easily understood, to give form to the invisible forces that seem to govern their surroundings. In these tales, a forest is not just a collection of trees. It is a place where spirits may linger, where the wind might carry whispers from another realm. A river is not merely flowing water, but a home to creatures that demand respect and caution. Even the snow, drifting silently down from distant mountains, can be the veil of a spirit whose presence is felt rather than seen. These stories, passed down orally and later recorded in paintings, scrolls, and books, have shaped not only the Japanese imagination, but the very way in which people interact with their environment, imbuing ordinary life with layers of wonder and subtle tension. As we begin, it is worth considering that the stories of yokai are not meant to startle abruptly, nor to create sudden fear. Instead, they are woven carefully, in patterns that allow the listener to immerse fully, to notice the soft details, the shifts of light and shadow, the quiet sounds that might otherwise go unnoticed. The spirits themselves, while often depicted as terrifying or strange, are also teachers of a kind, guardians of moral lessons, embodiments of cautionary wisdom, and sometimes, simply companions of the imagination. In many ways, yokai remind us that the world is larger than what we see, that the unseen forces around us are worthy of attention, reflection, and sometimes gentle fear, which can sharpen the mind while calming the body. It is this paradox that makes yokai stories so enduring. They are both thrilling and soothing, frightening and beautiful, and they invite us to slow down, to listen, and to observe the world in ways that are both ancient and intimate. Tonight, as you settle into a comfortable space, imagine walking along a quiet path through a dense forest, the leaves rustling softly underfoot, the air filled with the faint scent of moss and earth. You may feel a presence nearby, perhaps a rustle in the shadows, a movement at the corner of your eye, or a faint, melodic sound drifting on the breeze. These sensations are the essence of the yokai, the gentle tension that makes the stories alive in the mind and the heart. As we explore these spirits together, you will encounter beings that are strange, beautiful, and sometimes unsettling, yet each one is a part of the larger tapestry of Japanese folklore, a thread connecting the past to the present, the natural to the supernatural, the seen to the unseen. And so, we begin our journey into the world of yokai, not with sudden shocks or sharp fright, but with the slow, deliberate unfolding of stories, rich with history, mystery, and quiet wonder, guiding you into a state of calm curiosity, perfect for reflection and gentle sleep. Long before modern cities and bustling streets, the Japanese people lived closely with mountains, rivers, and forests, environments that were both nurturing and mysterious. In such a world, the extraordinary was often just beyond the visible, a subtle presence in the shadows or in the shifting patterns of wind and water. Folklore arose naturally as a way to understand these forces, to give shape and voice to the mysteries that humans could sense but not fully explain. It was a way to communicate lessons, preserve history, and capture the imaginations of communities through stories that could be shared around fires, at festivals, or whispered late at night. The landscape itself became a character in these tales, a silent witness to the interplay between humans and the unseen, a stage for the many spirits, yokai, and otherworldly beings that would populate the stories for generations. By observing the land with attention and reverence, the Japanese people were able to craft narratives that reflected both the beauty and the danger inherent in the natural world, imbuing everyday life with layers of meaning that went beyond the tangible. In this environment, yokai emerged as a fascinating bridge between the mundane and the supernatural. They were not merely frightening creatures to scare children or thrill listeners. They were expressions of cultural values, human fears, and the inexplicable phenomena that often occurred in daily life. Each region of Japan had its own particular spirits, shaped by the geography, climate, and traditions of the area. In the mountains, one might encounter tengu, guardians of the forest who could be both protective and mischievous. Along rivers, kappa stories cautioned travelers to respect water's power. The sea brought tales of funayuri, the spirits of drowned sailors seeking acknowledgement or closure. Even within homes, objects left neglected for many years could become tsukumagami, animated with life and personality. Through these stories, humans were taught to respect the natural order, to remain mindful of their actions, and to consider the unseen consequences of behavior. There was a quiet wisdom embedded in each tale, an understanding that the world was alive in ways beyond ordinary perception, and that learning to live harmoniously with both the visible and invisible was essential. The structure of Japanese folklore also lent itself to careful storytelling, particularly in oral traditions. Stories were told slowly, often with repetition and rich description, allowing the listener to fully absorb the atmosphere. The pacing of a tale was as important as its content. A sudden fright could be softened by the gentle sounds of nature, the changing seasons, or the subtleties of human emotion interwoven with supernatural events. The rhythm of storytelling created a space where fear and fascination could coexist, where a listener might feel both suspense and relaxation simultaneously. This approach contrasts with modern horror in that the terror is never overwhelming. Instead, it is measured, nuanced, and paired with lessons about humility, respect, and awareness. The result is a narrative style that is deeply suitable for reflection, meditation, and even gentle sleep, as the mind is guided through calm imagery punctuated with intriguing mysteries rather than abrupt shocks. Another important aspect of Japan's folklore landscape is the interplay between Shinto beliefs and the stories of yokai. Shinto, the indigenous spiritual tradition of Japan, emphasizes the sacredness of natural elements and the presence of kami, or spirits, in all aspects of life. This belief system naturally fostered the creation of stories where rivers, mountains, and trees were inhabited by beings with consciousness and agency. Yokai often acted as intermediaries, representing both the benevolent and potentially dangerous aspects of these forces. They reminded humans that respect for the land and its hidden energies was essential, that carelessness or disrespect could invite misfortune. Yet even within these warnings, there was a gentle humor or whimsicality to many tales, reflecting the duality of fear and amusement that yokai could inspire. This balance contributes to the enduring appeal of these stories, especially in a context designed to soothe the listener, as it allows curiosity and imagination to flourish without creating excessive anxiety or tension. Tonight, as you settle into your quiet space, consider the gentle flow of this folklore landscape. Picture a serene forest, dappled with sunlight, leaves rustling softly, and shadows moving in subtle, unexplainable ways. Imagine a river gliding over smooth stones, carrying the memory of countless stories, some happy, some cautionary, some simply curious. Each element of the landscape is imbued with life and significance, and within this setting, the spirits of yokai move with a quiet purpose, observed and remembered by the people who tell these tales. The richness of this world is not only in the extraordinary beings themselves, but in the way they reflect human experience, environmental awareness, and cultural heritage. They serve as gentle guides, drawing attention to details that might otherwise be overlooked, helping the mind to focus, relax, and drift along the currents of imagination and history. Through these stories, the listener is invited to see the world differently, to notice both the beauty and subtle unease around them, and to feel a quiet connection to generations who have looked at mountains, rivers, and forests and found both mystery and meaning. Thus, Japan's folklore landscape is a foundation for understanding yokai, a world where human perception and imagination blend seamlessly with natural and supernatural forces. It is a place where history, culture, and mystery intersect, creating a rich tapestry of stories that are both educational and deeply relaxing. By exploring this landscape, we can prepare ourselves to meet the spirits, creatures, and legends that inhabit Japan's ancient imagination, knowing that each tale is a careful balance of suspense and serenity, of fascination and calm, and that the journey through these stories can be as comforting as it is intriguing. It is within this gentle, immersive world that we continue our exploration, moving closer to the yokai themselves, and allowing the mind to wander safely through centuries of folklore, reflection, and quiet wonder. Yokai are multifaceted beings, often depicted as mischievous, terrifying, wise, sorrowful, or even whimsical, depending on the region, the storyteller, and the context in which the tale is told. They are a reflection of human fears, desires, and the mysteries that surround life, offering a mirror to our own experiences and emotions. Some yokai are connected to natural phenomena, serving as explanations for unusual events, while others embody moral lessons or societal taboos, reminding humans of the consequences of careless actions. Unlike conventional monsters that exist solely to frighten, yokai inhabit a space where caution, wonder, and imagination coexist, creating narratives that are both compelling and gentle, inviting reflection rather than panic. The term yokai itself encompasses a broad spectrum of beings, ranging from the ethereal to the corporeal, the humorous to the horrifying. There are yokai whose forms are nearly human, yet with subtle distortions that unsettle the viewer, and others whose appearances are entirely fantastical, blending elements of animals, plants, and the supernatural into shapes that defy ordinary perception. Each yokai carries with it a story, a context, and a purpose, and these stories have been preserved and adapted through centuries of oral tradition, literature, art, and theater. By learning about yokai, one is not merely encountering monsters or ghosts. One is stepping into a cultural dialogue that spans generations, a conversation about human behavior, environmental awareness, and the imagination's power to shape understanding of the unknown. In this way, yokai serve as both entertainment and education, capturing the imagination while gently guiding listeners toward contemplation and empathy. Yokai are also notable for their incredible diversity and the specificity with which they are tied to place, season, and circumstance. In coastal villages, tales of water spirits caution children to avoid dangerous tides and teach respect for the sea's power. In mountain regions, tengu or other forest yokai serve as guardians and moral enforcers, testing those who venture into their domain and rewarding humility or punishing arrogance. Even within urban settings, stories of tsukumogami or animated household objects convey the importance of care, attention, and mindfulness in everyday life. This localization of yokai tales demonstrates a profound connection between humans and their environment, revealing a worldview in which the unseen is as significant as the visible, and in which stories serve to reinforce harmony, awareness, and respect for both the natural and social order. Each encounter, each narrative, is carefully framed to balance fascination with gentle caution, ensuring that the listener remains engaged yet relaxed, captivated but not alarmed. The storytelling methods surrounding yokai also emphasize mood, atmosphere, and the gradual unfolding of events. Unlike modern horror, which often relies on abrupt shocks or startling images, yokai tales are built on a slow, deliberate rhythm. Listeners are drawn into scenes through vivid description, subtle shifts in setting, and the delicate interplay of suspense and calm. A shadow passing through a forest, the glint of moonlight on water, or the sudden, quiet rustle of leaves can convey tension without overwhelming the senses. This approach creates a meditative space where imagination can roam freely, allowing listeners to explore the unknown safely while remaining comforted by the cadence of the narrative. The power of yokai stories lies not in fear alone, but in the gentle blending of intrigue, cultural context, and reflection, crafting a narrative experience that is both immersive and soothing. In addition to their narrative role, yokai often serve as symbols for deeper human concerns, including morality, social norms, and the unpredictability of life. A yokai may embody the consequences of greed, pride, laziness, or disrespect for nature, teaching lessons through indirect, symbolic means rather than overt moralizing. Some are reminders of human vulnerability, illustrating the ways in which ordinary people can encounter extraordinary challenges, while others represent the ambiguity of existence, the delicate balance between the seen and unseen, or the coexistence of beauty and danger. By presenting these lessons in imaginative and often gentle ways, yokai encourage reflection without inducing anxiety, offering a safe space to consider fears, choices, and the mysteries of life. They invite the listener to slow down, to observe the nuances of the world, and to appreciate the subtle patterns that connect human behavior, the natural environment, and the supernatural. Tonight, as you listen, imagine stepping into a quiet Japanese village at twilight. The air is cool, carrying the faint scent of incense and earth. Shadows stretch long across narrow streets, and the gentle rustle of leaves echoes softly from distant trees. Somewhere nearby, a yokai may move, observed in a glimpse of light or a faint, unexplainable sound. Yet there is no immediate threat, only the gentle curiosity that guides your attention and imagination. Each yokai, whether mischievous, fearsome, or sorrowful, becomes a companion on this journey, leading you through landscapes of thought, reflection, and calm intrigue. The world of yokai is not merely a place of fright, but a mirror to human experience, an invitation to explore imagination, culture, and the gentle tension that lies between the ordinary and the extraordinary. In this space, one can wander safely, learning, observing, and drifting into a state of quiet wonder. Understanding what yokai are is the first step in this journey, allowing the listener to appreciate the breadth, depth, and cultural resonance of these fascinating beings. They are not simply spirits to scare or entertain. They are reflections of human curiosity, caution, and creativity, intricately woven into the fabric of Japanese history and culture. By approaching yokai with openness, calm attention, and gentle curiosity, one is able to enter a world where imagination thrives, where lessons are learned softly, and where the mind can relax into the rhythm of stories that have been told and retold for centuries. It is within this careful balance of fascination and serenity that the true nature of yokai reveals itself, inviting exploration, reflection, and the quiet joy of imagination. Long before the rise of cities, written texts, or formalized religion, the people of Japan lived closely with the land, observing the rhythms of the seasons, the cycles of rivers, the changing patterns of the skies, and the subtle movements of forests and mountains. In this intimate relationship with nature, the unexplained was ever present. Strange lights in the night, unusual sounds from the river, sudden gusts of wind in the trees, and inexplicable occurrences in daily life all inspired wonder, curiosity, and sometimes fear. These phenomena, which could not be easily explained, became fertile ground for the creation of yokai stories, giving form to the invisible forces that humans sensed but could not fully understand. By naming, describing, and narrating these beings, ancient storytellers gave shape to mystery itself, crafting tales that connected the natural world to the human experience and establishing a foundation for cultural imagination that continues to resonate today. The earliest yokai myths were deeply intertwined with Shinto beliefs, the indigenous spiritual system of Japan, which emphasizes the sacredness of natural elements and the presence of kami, or spirits, in all things. Mountains, rivers, trees, and rocks were considered alive with energy and consciousness, and the notion that spirits inhabited these forms was natural and intuitive. Yokai, in this context, acted as intermediaries between humans and the larger spiritual ecosystem, manifesting the consequences of respect or disrespect, caution or carelessness. A sudden illness, a lost traveler, or a flood might be explained through the presence or displeasure of a particular spirit. By giving these occurrences a narrative form, storytellers were able to transmit both practical knowledge and moral guidance, often embedding warnings or advice in tales that were captivating and memorable. This blending of observation, belief, and imagination laid the groundwork for an intricate folklore system where every natural phenomenon, unusual event, or behavioral lesson could be associated with a recognizable spirit or entity. In addition to religious influence, early literature and art played a significant role in solidifying the myths of yokai. Scrolls, illustrated books, and oral storytelling preserved specific forms, behaviors, and attributes of countless spirits, allowing them to evolve while maintaining recognizable characteristics. Some yokai were depicted as whimsical and entertaining, while others were designed to evoke fear or respect, demonstrating the broad range of human emotions they were intended to inspire. These representations also served educational purposes, helping to pass on knowledge about geography, social norms, environmental hazards, and moral lessons. The artistry of yokai depiction ensured that the stories remained vivid in the imagination, combining visual and narrative elements to create a fully immersive cultural experience. Each story carried not only the essence of the spirit it described, but also the sensibilities, fears, and creativity of the people who observed and interpreted the world around them. This interplay between culture, art, and storytelling reinforced the prominence of yokai in the collective imagination, allowing them to persist across generations with both continuity and variation. Natural phenomena were often at the heart of these early myths, with mysterious occurrences inspiring cautionary tales and imaginative explanations. Mist rising from a river could be perceived as a kappa lurking beneath the surface, ready to play tricks on the unwary. Sudden storms in the mountains might be attributed to Tengu, powerful guardians who demanded respect for their domains. A flickering light in the night could be interpreted as a will-o'-the-wisp or a wandering spirit, guiding travelers away from danger or into unexpected encounters. By connecting these seemingly ordinary occurrences to spiritual or supernatural entities, ancient storytellers created a framework in which the natural world became alive, purposeful, and morally instructive. This approach encouraged attentiveness, mindfulness, and a nuanced understanding of the environment, reinforcing the symbiotic relationship between humans and the world they inhabited. The stories were therefore not just entertainment, but an essential means of interpreting reality and teaching survival, respect, and ethical behavior. The social and psychological dimensions of yokai myths were equally important. Tales of spirits and supernatural beings allowed communities to externalize fears, anxieties, and uncertainties, making them more approachable and understandable. The unknown became narratively framed, providing a sense of order and explanation for events that might otherwise seem random or threatening. Stories of yokai also reinforced social cohesion, offering shared cultural references, moral lessons, and behavioral guidance. Children learned about the dangers of rivers and forests, the importance of honesty and respect, and the consequences of misbehavior through engaging narratives. Adults, too, found in these tales reflections of human nature, cautionary reminders, and opportunities for imaginative exploration. The richness of this cultural fabric ensured that yokai myths were deeply embedded in daily life, influencing festivals, rituals, art, and literature, and creating a continuous thread that connected past and present, human and spirit, ordinary and extraordinary. Tonight, as you listen, imagine the mist rising from a quiet river at dawn, the trees swaying gently, the mountains standing tall and silent in the distance. Within this landscape, the earliest yokai begin to take form, not as mere stories, but as reflections of the mysteries and lessons that have guided humans for centuries. They are spirits born from observation, belief, and imagination, shaped by the land, the people, and the cultural wisdom that has endured across generations. By understanding their origins, We prepare ourselves to meet these beings with respect, curiosity, and a calm awareness of the subtle interplay between nature, culture, and the supernatural. As we continue on this journey, we carry with us the echoes of ancient storytellers, the rhythm of natural phenomena, and the quiet, persistent presence of yokai themselves, guiding our attention, imagination, and mind toward a state of reflective calm, perfect for contemplation and gentle sleep. Nature in Japanese folklore is never merely a backdrop. It is a living, breathing participant, imbued with energy, intention, and subtle power. Every rustling leaf, flowing stream, and drifting snowflake can carry the presence of a spirit, a story, or a gentle warning. The people who first told these tales observed the natural world with remarkable attentiveness, noting patterns, anomalies, and the peculiar ways in which ordinary elements could evoke feelings of awe, fear, or wonder. In yokai narratives, a dense forest is not only a collection of trees, but a domain where tengu may guard sacred areas. Mischievous spirits may lead travelers astray, or hidden creatures may test the humility and courage of those who enter. Rivers become homes for kappa or other water spirits, reminding humans of respect and caution in the presence of natural forces that can be both nurturing and dangerous. Mountains, snowfields, and even the quiet rustle of reeds in a marsh are imbued with personality, atmosphere, and meaning, transforming every element of the environment into a potential stage for encounter, lesson, or reflection. The seasons themselves also influence yokai stories, shaping both their characteristics and the mood of the narratives. In winter, when the land is blanketed in snow and the air is still and biting, spirits such as Yukiana emerge in tales that capture both the beauty and the peril of frozen landscapes. Spring, with its delicate blossoms and gentle rains, may be a time of playful or whimsical spirits, reflecting the renewal and unpredictability inherent in the season. Summer brings humidity, storms, and vibrant life, setting the stage for water spirits and nocturnal beings that emerge in the warmth and darkness of long evenings. Autumn, with its falling leaves, cooling air, and harvest cycles, is often a season of transition and reflection, where spirits may remind humans of mortality, gratitude, or the fleeting nature of beauty. By connecting yokai to the cycles of the seasons, storytellers created a rhythm and flow that not only reinforced the connection between humans and nature, but also allowed narratives to unfold with a gentle, immersive cadence, perfect for contemplation or relaxed listening. In these tales, the presence of yokai also highlights the interplay between human behavior and natural forces. Respect, humility, kindness, and attentiveness are often rewarded, while arrogance, carelessness, or ignorance can lead to misfortune or mischief. A traveler who ignores the whispers of the forest or underestimates the power of a river may encounter the playful yet corrective actions of a yokai, while those who move thoughtfully and with reverence may find guidance, protection, or subtle instruction. The moral and practical dimensions of these stories are intertwined seamlessly with the environment, emphasizing that humans are part of a larger ecosystem in which every action has consequences. This integration of ethics, observation, and narrative fosters a slow, reflective engagement with the world, drawing listeners into the rhythms of storytelling that are calming, immersive, and meditative, without requiring fear or alarm to maintain attention. The structure of yokai stories further reinforces their connection to nature. Descriptions of landscapes, weather, flora, and fauna are often rich and deliberate, allowing the listener to picture scenes in vivid detail while simultaneously sensing the presence of the spirits within them. Shadows, sounds, scents, and subtle shifts in light are all described with care, creating an atmosphere in which the extraordinary emerges gently from the ordinary. A breeze moving through the leaves may carry the laughter of a mischievous creature. A flickering reflection on water may signal a kappa's presence, or the quiet stillness of snow may hide the footsteps of a ghostly figure. These narrative techniques allow the mind to wander safely through suspense, wonder, and reflection, cultivating a sense of engagement and relaxation that is uniquely suited to a calm, sleep-friendly storytelling style. The environment itself becomes a character, shaping the mood and guiding the listener's perception in a way that is both immersive and soothing. Furthermore, the integration of nature and yokai highlights the duality of fear and beauty in Japanese folklore. While spirits can be frightening or unpredictable, the settings in which they appear are often portrayed with remarkable beauty, serenity, and attention to detail. Misty mountains, glistening rivers, and moonlit forests provide a gentle contrast to the tension or mystery introduced by the presence of a yokai. This balance allows listeners to experience suspense and curiosity without overwhelming anxiety, maintaining a steady, calming rhythm throughout the story. The tension is subtle, nuanced, and deeply intertwined with the aesthetic qualities of the natural world, creating a narrative experience that is as relaxing as it is engaging. It is a world in which one can feel the quiet energy of forests, the gentle flow of water, and the soft whisper of wind, all while observing the playful, eerie, or instructive actions of spirits that inhabit this living landscape. Tonight, as you listen and imagine, picture a quiet forest path at dusk, the fading light creating long shadows across moss-covered rocks. Hear the soft trickle of a nearby stream and the rustle of leaves as a gentle wind passes through the trees. Imagine the air carrying the faint scent of pine, earth, and distant blossoms, while unseen spirits move quietly through the scene, observing, interacting, and guiding those who pass. Notice how the environment itself seems alive, responsive, and subtly instructive, offering lessons about respect, observation, and harmony with the natural world. The presence of yokai is felt rather than fully seen, a quiet tension that keeps the imagination active while allowing the mind to relax and drift along the rhythms of the forest, river, and seasons. It is within this space, rich with sensory detail, narrative nuance, and cultural resonance, that the stories of yokai truly come alive, preparing the listener to continue the journey deeper into the world of spirits, reflection, and gentle wonder. Kappa are water-dwelling creatures, often described as small, humanoid beings with features reminiscent of turtles, frogs, or monkeys, depending on the region and storyteller. Their most distinctive trait is the dish-like depression on the top of their heads, which holds water and serves as the source of their strength and life force. These creatures are deeply intertwined with rivers, ponds, and other bodies of water, and their stories have long served as cautionary tales for children and adults alike. The Kappa is a complex being, embodying both mischief and potential danger, capable of playful tricks but also of more serious consequences for those who show disrespect or carelessness near water. In many narratives, Kappa are curious, intelligent, and even capable of forming temporary friendships with humans, demonstrating the duality of fear and fascination that is characteristic of many yokai. The tales of Kappa are often set in richly described natural landscapes, enhancing both the immersive and calming qualities of the story. Imagine a quiet riverbank in late afternoon, the water flowing gently over smooth stones, the light reflecting in dappled patterns on the surface, and the rustle of reeds in the breeze. Somewhere beneath the surface, a Kappa might observe a passerby, curious and mischievous, waiting to see whether they will approach respectfully or recklessly. The stories frequently emphasize the need for caution, teaching lessons about safety near water and the importance of being aware of one's surroundings. Yet, despite their potentially dangerous nature, Kappa are rarely malevolent for no reason. Their actions are often responses to human behavior, creating narratives that are instructive, morally nuanced, and deeply connected to the environment. The listener is drawn into this subtle tension, balancing the thrill of encountering a supernatural being with the serenity of observing a quiet, natural setting. In addition to their cautionary role, Kappa are known for their intelligence and cleverness, which often manifests in riddles, challenges, or competitions with humans. Stories tell of Kappa who engage in wrestling matches, games, or clever contests, testing both physical strength and mental acuity. Sometimes, humans can outwit or negotiate with Kappa, leading to temporary alliances, the sharing of knowledge, or assistance in tasks such as irrigation or river navigation. This duality, dangerous yet teachable, mischievous yet capable of friendship, makes Kappa a particularly engaging subject for storytelling. The narrative tension is carefully managed, allowing listeners to feel curiosity, suspense, and wonder without creating an overwhelming sense of fear. The Kappa's personality, motives, and the environment it inhabits are described in detail, creating an immersive, vivid picture that encourages imagination while promoting relaxation and attentive reflection. The cultural significance of Kappa extends beyond cautionary tales and playful narratives. These spirits appear in festivals, art, literature, and even modern media, demonstrating their enduring presence in Japanese culture. In some regions, offerings of cucumbers, a Kappa's favorite food, were made to placate or honor them, blending spiritual practice with folklore. Such customs reflect the integration of yokai into daily life, showing how stories were not merely entertainment but also a way to interact with the environment and its unseen inhabitants. Kappa, in particular, embody the human need to understand and respect natural forces, to remain mindful of behavior near potentially dangerous locations, and to acknowledge that even small creatures can carry great significance. These lessons are conveyed gently, allowing the listener to absorb cultural, historical, and ethical insights while being enveloped in the serene rhythm of the storytelling. The storytelling style surrounding Kappa emphasizes atmosphere, sensory detail, and the slow unfolding of events. A tale may begin with the soft sound of water lapping against stones, the shimmering reflection of sunlight on a river's surface, and the gentle rustle of leaves. From this calm, natural setting, the presence of the Kappa is introduced gradually, first as a subtle movement beneath the water, then as a brief glimpse of a hand or head breaking the surface, and finally through interaction with humans. This pacing allows the listener to experience suspense and intrigue without the abruptness or intensity of modern horror, creating a meditative engagement that is both captivating and soothing. The balance between environment, character, and action is essential, as it maintains a steady, calming rhythm suitable for relaxed listening, reflection, or even sleep. Kappa stories also explore themes of morality, respect, and reciprocity. By interacting with humans, these creatures illustrate the consequences of behavior and the importance of ethical conduct. A careless child who ventures too close to the river without respect may be playfully dragged underwater, while a polite, careful visitor may receive assistance, guidance, or knowledge. These narratives reinforce cultural values such as mindfulness, humility, and the interconnectedness of human life with the natural world. They demonstrate that even beings that might seem fearsome or strange have rules, logic, and patterns that can be understood and navigated with care and awareness. The listener is invited to consider not only the presence of the Kappa, but also the broader lessons of attentiveness, empathy, and respect that underlie the folklore. Tonight, as you imagine the quiet river flowing under the soft light of late afternoon, picture the gentle movements of the water, the glimmering reflection of the sun, and the reeds swaying in the breeze. Somewhere beneath the surface, a Kappa may be observing, its curious eyes following your movements. There is no rush, no immediate danger, only the quiet tension of the unknown and the invitation to engage with this spirit through thought, imagination, and reflection. The Kappa embodies the balance of mischief and caution, intelligence and curiosity, danger and guidance, creating a narrative experience that is immersive, educational, and deeply relaxing. By listening to these stories, one can appreciate not only the fascinating nature of the yokai themselves, but also the rich, contemplative world in which they reside, allowing the mind to wander safely through rivers, forests, and the mysteries of Japanese folklore, preparing for deeper exploration of other spirits in the journey ahead. Tengu are often depicted with bird-like features, red faces, long noses, and supernatural abilities, but their appearances can vary widely depending on the region and storyteller. They inhabit forests, mountains, and secluded temples, serving as guardians, tricksters, and teachers. While they may appear intimidating, Tengu are complex beings, embodying both fearsome power and the potential for wisdom and guidance. Their stories often reflect themes of balance, humility, and respect for nature, and they illustrate the ways in which humans can interact with the spiritual world through attentiveness, moral conduct, and thoughtful behavior. As we explore the tales of Tengu, it is important to appreciate both their mystical qualities and the rich cultural context in which they appear, allowing the listener to be gently drawn into a world of intrigue, reflection, and calm suspense. Tengu are frequently associated with mountains, which in Japanese culture are considered sacred spaces, places where the natural and spiritual realms converge. The mountains are depicted not only as breathtakingly beautiful, but also as mysterious and occasionally dangerous, a perfect setting for encounters with beings who exist between worlds. In storytelling, the forested paths, rocky cliffs, and hidden temples of the mountains are described with great care, emphasizing the sounds of wind through the trees, the rustle of wildlife, and the distant echoes of waterfalls. Within this setting, the presence of Tengu is often introduced gradually, creating an atmosphere that is both serene and subtly suspenseful. The listener can imagine the soft shifting of branches, the glint of sunlight on mossy rocks, and the occasional shadow flitting through the trees, signaling that these powerful spirits are near. By framing the story within such richly detailed natural landscapes, the narrative fosters an immersive, contemplative experience, balancing curiosity, awe, and gentle tension in a way that is well suited for relaxation or sleep. Tengu stories often explore the duality of their nature, portraying them as both tricksters and wise teachers. In some tales, Tengu play mischievous pranks, misleading travelers, hiding objects, or creating confusing pathways through the forest. These actions are never purely malevolent. They serve to test human behavior, patience, and humility. Those who approach the mountains with arrogance or carelessness may find themselves challenged by the spirits, while those who act respectfully, observe carefully, and remain humble are often rewarded with guidance, knowledge, or protection. This duality is a central theme of Tengu folklore, reflecting the broader human desire to understand and navigate a world that is alive with unseen forces. Through careful observation of these stories, listeners can appreciate not only the entertaining and mysterious qualities of Tengu, but also the deeper moral, cultural, and environmental lessons that are woven seamlessly into the narratives. In addition to their mischievous tendencies, Tengu are frequently depicted as skilled warriors and teachers of martial arts. Historical and literary accounts describe Tengu instructing humans in swordsmanship, strategy, and other disciplines, passing on knowledge that is both practical and symbolic. This portrayal highlights the idea that spiritual encounters, even with beings who might initially appear frightening, can lead to growth, learning, and personal transformation. Tengu represent a bridge between the natural, spiritual, and human realms, demonstrating that respect, attentiveness, and the willingness to engage thoughtfully with the unknown can yield rewards. The stories of Tengu thus operate on multiple levels, providing both entertainment and moral instruction while maintaining a calming, measured rhythm that allows the listener to remain immersed and relaxed. The narrative style surrounding Tengu emphasizes atmosphere, description, and the gradual unfolding of events. A story may begin with the quiet sounds of a mountain forest, the distant call of a bird, the shifting of leaves in a gentle breeze, and the soft footfalls of a traveler on a moss-covered path. Slowly, the presence of a Tengu is introduced, first through subtle signs, a shadow, a rustle, a feeling of being observed. The suspense is never overwhelming but carefully measured, allowing the listener to imagine the scene vividly while remaining calm and reflective. This pacing is characteristic of yokai storytelling, creating a meditative space in which curiosity, wonder, and gentle tension coexist harmoniously. By focusing on sensory details, natural imagery, and the complex personalities of the spirits, the narrative encourages imaginative engagement without invoking fear that disrupts relaxation. Tengu also embody lessons about humility, self-discipline, and the limits of human understanding. Encounters with these spirits often involve challenges that test pride, patience, or ego, emphasizing that power, skill, and knowledge are not solely human traits. The story suggests that respect for the natural and spiritual order, attentiveness to one's surroundings, and the cultivation of personal virtues can lead to harmony and enlightenment. Even the moments of mischief and trickery are imbued with purpose, demonstrating that disruption can serve as a form of teaching and that the unknown can be navigated with careful observation, thoughtfulness, and calm composure. These themes resonate deeply within the listener, creating a reflective, immersive experience that balances intrigue and serenity, perfectly aligned with the style of bedtime storytelling. Tonight, as you imagine walking along a quiet mountain path, picture the sunlight filtering through the canopy, casting dappled patterns on rocks and moss. Hear the distant rush of a waterfall, the soft rustling of leaves, and the occasional cry of a bird echoing through the valleys. Somewhere amidst the trees, a tengu may be observing, testing, or simply existing in its domain, unseen yet present. There is no urgency, no danger beyond curiosity and gentle tension. Only the invitation to engage imaginatively with this spirit, to notice the subtleties of the landscape, and to reflect on the balance of respect, awareness, and humility. By listening to and imagining these tales, the mind is guided through a serene, contemplative experience, deeply rooted in Japanese folklore, rich in sensory detail, and perfectly suited for reflection, relaxation, and gentle sleep. Kitsune are frequently depicted as shapeshifters, able to assume human form, usually that of a beautiful woman, to interact with humans in ways that are intriguing, cautionary, or sometimes mischievous. The stories of kitsune are deeply embedded in Japanese culture, appearing in literature, art, theater, and festivals, and their presence carries both symbolic and narrative significance. While some kitsune are benevolent and act as protectors or guides, others are tricksters who test human behavior, loyalty, and perception. This duality mirrors the broader qualities of yokai, embodying the delicate balance between curiosity, caution, wonder, and reflection that defines much of Japanese folklore. As we explore the tales of kitsune, it is important to engage with both the imaginative charm and the subtle moral lessons embedded in their stories, allowing the listener to drift gently into a world of intrigue, cultural resonance, and quiet suspense. Kitsune are particularly associated with the Shinto deity Inari, the god of rice, fertility, and prosperity, and are often depicted as messengers or attendants to this deity. This connection emphasizes the cultural and spiritual significance of fox spirits, highlighting their role as intermediaries between the human and divine realms. Inari shrines across Japan frequently feature statues of foxes, symbolizing protection, guidance, and vigilance. The stories reinforce these qualities, portraying kitsune as beings capable of observing human actions carefully, intervening when necessary, and rewarding or correcting behavior according to their judgment. The listener is invited to imagine a serene temple courtyard, the soft rustle of leaves, the distant chanting of priests, and the presence of these watchful fox spirits, quietly guiding, observing, and occasionally testing those who enter their domain. This setting, rich in sensory detail and cultural context, enhances the immersive quality of the narrative, allowing the mind to wander safely through intrigue, moral reflection, and gentle tension. The shape-shifting abilities of kitsune serve as a focal point in many stories, illustrating themes of perception, deception, and understanding. A kitsune may assume human form to interact with individuals, often revealing its true nature only at pivotal moments. These transformations create suspense and curiosity, as humans are challenged to discern reality from illusion. Yet, the purpose of these tricks is rarely to harm indiscriminately. They often serve as lessons about humility, attentiveness, empathy, and the consequences of hasty judgment. The narratives emphasize that appearances can be deceiving and that discernment, patience, and respect for the unknown are valuable qualities. Through these tales, listeners are encouraged to engage both their imagination and moral sensibilities, following the story with calm attention and reflective curiosity. The tension is subtle, carefully balanced by serene descriptions of setting, character, and atmosphere, creating an experience that is both captivating and relaxing. Kitsune stories also explore relationships between humans and spirits, highlighting the complexity and nuance of such interactions. Tales often describe bonds of friendship, loyalty, and even romance, illustrating how cooperation and mutual respect between different beings can result in harmony and benefit. Conversely, stories of betrayal, arrogance, or disrespect often result in consequences that are instructive rather than purely punitive, demonstrating the careful balance maintained within yokai narratives. The moral, cultural, and spiritual lessons conveyed through kitsune tales are deeply intertwined with their settings, behaviors, and abilities, allowing listeners to absorb wisdom and reflection naturally, without the need for overt instruction or alarm. By weaving narrative, environment, and symbolism together, storytellers create a gentle rhythm that engages the mind, encourages imagination, and fosters a sense of calm attentiveness. The natural world plays an integral role in kitsune stories, as forests, fields, and rural landscapes often form the backdrop for these interactions. Imagine a quiet rice paddy at dusk, the water reflecting the soft glow of the setting sun, the gentle rustle of reeds, and the distant chirping of birds. In this setting, a kitsune may appear, moving silently through the shadows or watching from the edge of a field, its eyes bright with curiosity and intelligence. The interplay between human characters and the fox spirit is heightened by the richness of the natural environment, with every sound, shadow, and movement contributing to the sense of suspense, wonder, and calm reflection. This immersive sensory detail is essential in yokai storytelling, allowing the listener to enter the world fully, guided by imagination, cultural resonance, and the subtle moral undertones embedded in the narrative. The experience is designed to stimulate the mind gently while maintaining a steady, soothing rhythm, ideal for reflection or sleep. Tonight, as you picture the soft landscape of rice paddies, quiet forests, and distant temples, imagine the kitsune observing silently, its presence a mix of mystery, intelligence, and quiet guidance. Perhaps its shape shifts to interact with a human figure, testing attentiveness, humility, or kindness. There is no immediate threat, only the gentle curiosity that draws the listener into the story and the calm suspense that encourages reflection, contemplation, and engagement with the natural and spiritual world. By following these narratives, one can explore themes of morality, perception, and the subtle balance of power and respect, all within an atmosphere of calm, richly detailed imagery. Kitsune stories invite listeners to wander through cultural history, folklore, and imagination, allowing the mind to relax while remaining engaged, fostering an experience that is immersive, educational, and deeply soothing. These tales exemplify the delicate artistry of yokai storytelling, in which wonder, caution, and curiosity coexist harmoniously, guiding the listener toward deeper understanding and gentle contemplation. Unlike other yokai, which often embody natural forces, mischief, or morality, eerie are typically souls lingering after death, drawn back by unresolved emotions, unfinished business, or a strong attachment to the living world. Their presence is often tied to sorrow, vengeance, love, or regret, creating stories that explore the depth and complexity of human emotion. Eerie are commonly depicted in white burial kimono, with long, disheveled black hair and pale, ethereal features, appearing in quiet, shadowed places or under the moonlight. Their appearance is not meant to terrify in an overwhelming way, but to evoke reflection, empathy, and subtle unease, making them particularly compelling in the context of calm, immersive storytelling where curiosity and gentle suspense guide the listener's imagination. The origins of eerie myths are deeply intertwined with Japanese funeral customs, beliefs about death, and the spiritual understanding of the soul. In historical Japan, death was carefully observed through rituals and practices designed to honor the deceased, facilitate their peaceful passage, and prevent lingering spirits from becoming restless. Stories of eerie often served as cautionary tales, emphasizing the importance of proper burial rites, respect for ancestors, and the consequences of unresolved emotions. The narratives provide a cultural lens through which listeners can appreciate both the spiritual significance of death and the societal values that arose to manage the uncertainties associated with mortality. In this way, eerie tales blend education, morality, and fascination with the supernatural, all while maintaining a gentle, reflective rhythm suitable for relaxed listening and contemplative thought. The settings in which eerie appear are often quiet, liminal spaces that heighten their ethereal quality. A deserted temple courtyard, a mist-shrouded riverbank, or the threshold of a house at twilight might host these spirits, their forms moving silently and purposefully. The listener is guided through these spaces with careful description, the soft rustling of leaves, the subtle ripple of water, the pale glow of moonlight reflecting on stone or wooden surfaces. These environmental details not only create vivid imagery, but also support the calm pacing and gentle suspense characteristic of yokai storytelling. The presence of a yurei is often subtle, felt through movement, shadow, or emotion rather than abrupt action, allowing the mind to imagine the scene while remaining relaxed and immersed in the narrative. The emotional depth of yurei stories is central to their impact. Many tales focus on themes of love, loss, loyalty, or revenge, illustrating how unresolved feelings can tether spirits to the world of the living. A wife grieving for her husband, a child mourning a parent, or a person wronged in life may return as a yurei, their stories reflecting both sorrow and the desire for closure. These narratives encourage listeners to consider the complexities of human emotion, the enduring influence of relationships, and the subtle ways in which the past shapes the present. Rather than overwhelming fear, the tales evoke contemplation and empathy, inviting the audience to reflect on universal experiences of attachment, longing, and resolution. The slow, deliberate unfolding of events, combined with rich sensory description, allows these stories to be immersive yet soothing, guiding the listener through emotional landscapes as well as imaginative ones. Yurei are also notable for the ways in which humans can interact with them, creating narratives that blend tension and resolution. Rituals, offerings, prayers, or acts of remembrance can appease spirits and bring closure, demonstrating that the living have the ability to influence the supernatural. In some stories, yurei act to warn or guide, offering insight or protection to those who respect their presence, while in others, failure to honor them may result in gentle consequences, lessons, or discomfort. The narratives emphasize mindfulness, respect, and attentiveness, extending the ethical dimensions of yokai tales into the realm of life, death, and memory. By portraying these interactions carefully and with nuance, storytellers create an experience that balances intrigue and calm reflection, ensuring that suspense is measured and the listener remains engaged without feeling anxious or alarmed. The sensory details in yurei tales further enhance the immersive experience. Imagine a quiet river under moonlight, its surface reflecting soft, silvery light, and a faint mist rising from the water. Hear the distant flutter of leaves in the trees, the subtle creak of wooden boards, and the almost imperceptible whisper of a spirit moving nearby. See the pale form of a yurei gliding silently across the scene, her hair flowing like ink in water, her gaze distant yet attentive. These images are designed to draw the imagination gently into the narrative, creating a rhythm of observation, reflection, and quiet suspense. The listener is invited to explore the scene, consider the emotions of the spirit, and appreciate the interplay of the natural, human, and supernatural worlds. The focus is on subtlety, atmosphere, and moral resonance, rather than shock or overt horror, making yurei stories uniquely suited to calm, sleep-friendly storytelling. Tonight, as you imagine the quiet, shadowed spaces where yurei dwell, picture the ethereal glow of moonlight on water, the soft rustle of leaves in the wind, and the faint presence of spirits tethered to the world by sorrow, love, or unresolved events. There is no rush, no immediate danger, only the invitation to observe, reflect, and consider the delicate balance between life and death, human emotion and spiritual presence. By following these tales, listeners can appreciate the depth of Japanese folklore, the cultural significance of yurei, and the gentle tension created by spirits who exist between worlds. These stories allow the mind to wander thoughtfully and peacefully through landscapes of imagination, emotion, and cultural heritage, fostering a calm, immersive experience that is both educational and soothing, perfectly aligned with the rhythm of bedtime storytelling. These spirits remind listeners that even the most ordinary items can harbor energy, memory, and personality, transforming the everyday into something mysterious and alive. In Japanese folklore, tsukumogami can range from tools, utensils, and household objects to musical instruments, each developing consciousness and a unique character over time. Their stories are gentle yet compelling, often combining humor, surprise, and subtle lessons about respect, care, and mindfulness. Unlike more intimidating yokai, tsukumogami invite reflection on the hidden life of objects, the passage of time, and the importance of tending to the things we rely upon, fostering a sense of calm curiosity and quiet contemplation. The origins of Tsukumogami stories are tied to Shinto beliefs and the idea that all things have a spirit, a presence, or essence, whether natural or man-made. By endowing objects with life, these tales illustrate the interconnectedness of humans and their environment, emphasizing that neglect or disrespect may lead to unexpected consequences. A forgotten umbrella, a cracked teapot, or an abandoned musical instrument might awaken, moving on its own, seeking acknowledgement, or playfully interacting with humans. The narratives often highlight both the whimsy and moral undertones of these encounters, teaching lessons about care, appreciation, and awareness in daily life. As the listener imagines these objects quietly observing, subtly shifting, or performing small actions, the stories create a meditative rhythm, blending amusement, reflection, and gentle suspense that is ideally suited for relaxed listening and contemplation. Tsukumogami narratives frequently describe environments in meticulous detail, enhancing the immersive quality of the story. Imagine a quiet, dimly lit household, with wooden floors creaking softly under the weight of time, the faint scent of incense lingering in the air, and the soft, irregular tapping of rain against the window. Within this serene setting, an old lantern might glow faintly without flame. A broom could sweep the floor by itself, or a riding brush might float gracefully through the air. These subtle movements are not threatening but intriguing, inviting the imagination to explore the idea of life and personality residing in everyday objects. The pacing of the narrative is calm and deliberate, allowing the mind to observe, reflect, and wander, cultivating a sense of wonder, attentiveness, and gentle curiosity. The stories emphasize the magic inherent in the ordinary, transforming familiar spaces into landscapes rich with quiet intrigue. The characters of Tsukumogami often reflect aspects of human behavior, offering gentle moral instruction through indirect interaction. Objects that were treated with care may become helpful companions, assisting humans in tasks or providing guidance in subtle ways. Conversely, neglected or mistreated items may express displeasure, play tricks, or withdraw their presence, demonstrating consequences without aggression. Through these stories, listeners learn about empathy, attentiveness, and the value of respect for both living and non-living elements of their surroundings. The narrative is carefully balanced to maintain intrigue without inducing alarm, allowing the listener to experience the surprise, humor, and moral nuance of the Tsukumogami while remaining relaxed and reflective. This approach is characteristic of yokai storytelling, in which curiosity, contemplation, and ethical consideration coexist harmoniously. The imaginative qualities of Tsukumogami are further enhanced by the diversity of objects that can become animated. Every household item, tool, or instrument holds the potential for transformation, each developing a distinct personality and behavior shaped by its use, history, or neglect. A fan might flutter unexpectedly, a lantern may bob with gentle enthusiasm, or a teacup could tumble in playful rebellion. These details create a vivid sensory experience, drawing listeners into a world where ordinary items are alive with subtle motion, personality, and purpose. The gentle unpredictability of Tsukumogami fosters curiosity and engagement, allowing the imagination to explore without fear and creating a sense of meditative attention that complements the calm rhythm of the narrative. Each object becomes a character in its own right, contributing to a narrative that is whimsical, thoughtful, and immersive. The cultural significance of Tsukumogami extends beyond their immediate narratives, reflecting historical attitudes toward objects, craft, and material culture in Japan. The stories emphasize that items, like humans, have value and significance, and that carelessness or disregard may lead to unexpected consequences. By weaving ethical lessons, imaginative elements, and gentle suspense into these tales, storytellers create narratives that are both instructive and relaxing, perfectly suited for reflection, contemplation, or sleep. The listener is invited to consider not only the playful animation of objects, but also the deeper cultural values they represent: respect for material possessions, mindfulness in daily life, and the recognition of unseen forces that influence human experience. In this way, Tsukumogami stories operate on multiple levels, blending whimsy, morality, imagination, and sensory engagement into a seamless narrative experience. Tonight, as you imagine a quiet household at dusk, picture the gentle movements of familiar objects, a broom sweeping softly, a lantern glowing faintly, a brush floating lightly through the air. Sense the calm rhythm of the space, the subtle creaks and sighs of the house, and the soft patter of rain outside. Within this environment, the Tsukumogami reveal themselves not as threats, but as playful, thoughtful, and sometimes instructive presences, inviting attention, curiosity, and reflection. The stories allow the mind to wander gently through imaginative landscapes, observing the interplay of the ordinary and extraordinary, the visible and the unseen. By listening, one can appreciate the cultural richness, moral subtlety, and serene creativity of Tsukumogami tales, experiencing a meditative balance of gentle suspense, reflective insight, and immersive storytelling, perfectly aligned with the calming rhythm of bedtime narrative. These spirits are typically depicted as appearing human at first, only for their faces to reveal a smooth, featureless surface when observed closely. Unlike other yokai who may act with mischief or guidance, the Naprobo are often associated with a quiet, surreal kind of horror, one that unsettles by subverting expectations rather than through overt threat or aggression. The stories of these faceless ghosts emphasize atmosphere, anticipation, and the gentle manipulation of perception, creating a narrative tension that is subtle, reflective, and particularly well-suited to a calm storytelling style designed for relaxation or contemplation. As we explore their tales, it is important to consider both the emotional impact and the cultural context that gives rise to these enigmatic beings, allowing the listener to experience intrigue without alarm. The settings in which Naprobo appear are carefully crafted to heighten their subtle tension while maintaining a serene, immersive quality. Quiet village paths at dusk, deserted shrines, and misty riverbanks provide the backdrop for encounters, allowing the listener to feel the calm rhythm of the environment while sensing the possibility of something extraordinary. Soft, natural sounds, the rustle of leaves, the distant flow of water, the whisper of the wind, are described in detail, establishing a tranquil atmosphere that contrasts with the sudden revelation of a faceless apparition. This interplay between serenity and surprise is characteristic of yokai storytelling, emphasizing gentle suspense rather than fear and engaging the imagination in a meditative, reflective manner. By carefully pacing the introduction of the Naprobo, storytellers ensure that listeners are captivated, attentive, and immersed without experiencing overwhelming tension or anxiety. The experiences of humans encountering Naprobo often explore themes of perception, identity, and reality. A traveler may greet a seemingly ordinary person, only to be confronted by the absence of facial features, prompting a moment of shock and reflection. The effect is less about terror and more about the unsettling realization that appearances can deceive, and that the world may contain aspects that are hidden, subtle, or inexplicable. This gentle subversion of expectations encourages mindfulness and attentiveness, inviting the listener to observe their surroundings and consider the layers of meaning within both the natural and spiritual worlds. The narrative develops slowly, allowing the mind to process the unfolding events, fostering curiosity and reflective engagement while maintaining a calm, immersive tone. Naprobo stories also explore the psychological and cultural dimensions of fear, highlighting the ways in which the unknown can provoke reflection rather than panic. The absence of facial features represents uncertainty, anonymity, and the disruption of familiar social cues, all of which prompt consideration of human perception, emotion, and interaction. Yet, the narratives are structured so that the experience remains safe and contemplative, with encounters often brief, mysterious, and ultimately resolved without harm. This careful balance allows listeners to experience suspense and intrigue without being overwhelmed, aligning with the meditative rhythm of sleep-friendly storytelling. The stories serve as gentle reminders that curiosity, observation, and thoughtful reflection can illuminate aspects of the world that are normally hidden, and that encounters with the unknown can be both instructive and calming. In addition to their thematic significance, Naparabo demonstrate the artistry of yokai storytelling, which emphasizes atmosphere, sensory detail, and imaginative engagement. Listeners are invited to visualize the environment, hear the subtle sounds of movement, feel the stillness of air, and sense the presence of something extraordinary within a familiar setting. The stories cultivate a slow, attentive focus, guiding the mind to wander safely through suspense, wonder, and cultural reflection. By emphasizing the interplay of natural and supernatural elements, storytellers create a layered narrative experience that engages curiosity, fosters observation, and maintains a sense of calm immersion. Each moment with a naparabo is carefully measured, allowing the listener to experience intrigue, subtle tension, and reflection simultaneously, creating a uniquely meditative form of engagement. The cultural and historical context of naparabo adds further depth to the stories, as they reflect societal attitudes toward identity, perception, and the human relationship with the unknown. Folklore often used these spirits to illustrate the limits of understanding, the unexpected nature of encounters, and the subtle lessons embedded within everyday life. By framing their presence within ordinary yet evocative environments, the narratives emphasize that even seemingly mundane settings can harbor mystery, inviting listeners to consider the world with attentive curiosity. The interplay between realism and the surreal allows the stories to resonate across time, providing both entertainment and reflection while maintaining a steady, calming narrative rhythm. This makes naparabo tales particularly suitable for immersive listening, contemplation, and gentle mental engagement, aligning perfectly with the meditative qualities of yokai storytelling. Tonight, as you imagine a quiet village path, the distant murmur of a river, and the soft rustle of leaves in the wind, picture a figure approaching in the distance. At first, it seems familiar, human, ordinary, and yet as you observe more closely, its face reveals no features, smooth and blank under the fading light. There is no immediate threat, no panic, only a surreal sense of curiosity and quiet surprise. The environment, rich in sensory detail and natural rhythm, frames the encounter in a way that is both captivating and calming, allowing the imagination to explore intrigue safely. By listening to these tales, the mind is guided through experiences of perception, uncertainty, and reflection, encountering subtle tension without alarm. Naparabo stories offer a serene yet thought-provoking journey into the unexpected, combining cultural depth, imaginative engagement, and immersive sensory detail, fostering a calm, reflective state ideal for contemplation or sleep. Unlike many other yokai, whose presence is tied to natural elements or the afterlife, rokurokubi are closely associated with humans, often appearing in stories that explore the tension between the ordinary and the extraordinary. By day, they may seem completely normal, blending seamlessly into society, their presence unremarkable and unthreatening. By night, however, their supernatural attribute is revealed, often surprising those around them, and creating narratives that are both suspenseful and contemplative. The stories emphasize the balance between human familiarity and the mysterious unknown, drawing the listener gently into a world where subtle wonder and quiet tension coexist harmoniously. The origins of rokurokubi tales are varied, with some rooted in cautionary folklore, while others are more playful or even comedic in tone. These spirits are sometimes seen as a reflection of human curiosity, fear, or moral transgression, symbolizing the hidden aspects of life and personality that may emerge under specific conditions. They remind listeners that the ordinary world can harbor extraordinary secrets and that appearances may not always reflect reality. The narratives often explore the tension between social norms, expectations, and the hidden potential for change or disruption, creating stories that are psychologically rich and immersive. By presenting the supernatural in a setting that feels familiar, storytellers encourage reflective engagement, allowing listeners to contemplate both the mysteries of the world and the subtleties of human behavior without fear or alarm. The settings in which rokurokubi appear are often domestic or urban, emphasizing the contrast between normalcy and supernatural surprise. Quiet villages, dimly lit streets, and the interior of traditional houses provide the backdrop for these stories, their calm and familiar environments heightening the sense of wonder when the supernatural element is revealed. The narrative typically unfolds gradually, with careful attention to sensory details, the soft creak of floorboards, the flickering of candlelight, the distant murmur of nighttime activity. Through these details, the listener is gently guided into a contemplative state, observing both the environment and the subtle, extraordinary events that occur within it. The gradual revelation of the Rokurokubi's abilities creates a rhythm of curiosity and reflection that aligns perfectly with the style of sleep-friendly storytelling. Rokurokubi tales often emphasize the interaction between the ordinary and the extraordinary, highlighting human reactions to the supernatural. Characters in these stories may experience surprise, confusion, or awe, prompting reflection on the nature of perception, reality, and the unknown. The yokai themselves are not typically malevolent. Their actions are often neutral or even instructive, allowing humans to learn, adapt, or appreciate the hidden layers of existence. This approach creates a narrative tension that is subtle, immersive, and intellectually engaging, allowing the listener to explore themes of wonder, observation, and adaptability in a relaxed and reflective manner. The storytelling encourages attentiveness and contemplation, fostering a mental state that balances curiosity, gentle suspense, and calm immersion. The duality of the Rokurokubi, appearing ordinary by day and extraordinary by night, also provides an opportunity for reflection on the human condition and cultural values. These tales often explore the idea that hidden qualities, talents, or secrets may exist in everyone, and that understanding, respect, and mindfulness are necessary to navigate the complexities of life. The supernatural element becomes a metaphor for subtlety, patience, and attentiveness, encouraging listeners to consider the layers of meaning present in both human behavior and the broader world. By presenting the extraordinary within the familiar, the stories reinforce the sense that mystery and wonder can coexist with daily life, cultivating a contemplative and immersive experience that is both relaxing and intellectually satisfying. In addition, Rokurokubi narratives often focus on the interplay of perception and imagination. As listeners follow the story, they are invited to visualize the extraordinary events unfolding within ordinary environments. A neck stretching silently across a dimly lit room, a subtle movement noticed out of the corner of the eye, or a quiet moment of surprise and reflection. The pacing of the story is deliberate, allowing the imagination to wander gently while maintaining a sense of calm curiosity. Sensory details, soft sounds, faint shadows, and subtle motions create an immersive experience that is meditative, engaging, and conducive to relaxation. The gentle tension of observing the supernatural without immediate threat fosters a sense of attentive calm, perfectly aligned with the goals of sleep-friendly storytelling. Tonight, as you picture a quiet village at night, the soft glow of lanterns reflecting off polished wooden floors, and the gentle hush of nocturnal activity, imagine the subtle, extraordinary presence of a Rokurokubi. Their neck stretches silently, a reminder that the ordinary world holds hidden wonders and that perception is never absolute. There is no urgency or danger, only the quiet fascination of discovery, the interplay of observation and reflection, and the gentle rhythm of a story unfolding. By following these tales, listeners are invited to consider themes of hidden potential, attentiveness, and the extraordinary within the familiar, while remaining immersed in a calming, meditative experience. The narrative encourages curiosity, reflection, and a serene exploration of both human behavior and the mysterious, subtle forces that animate the world, providing a perfect balance of intrigue, insight, and relaxation. Unlike many other spirits, Nurirahayan is not overtly dangerous or violent. Rather, his power lies in subtlety, cleverness, and the ability to blend seamlessly into domestic life. He is often depicted as leisurely sipping tea or appearing unassumingly at the head of a household, creating an atmosphere of quiet intrigue and mild unease. The stories surrounding Nurirahayan explore themes of observation, subtle influence, and the interaction between humans and the supernatural. Through these narratives, listeners are drawn into a calm, contemplative world where curiosity, reflection, and gentle suspense are intertwined, allowing the imagination to wander without fear while absorbing cultural insights and folklore lessons. The origins of Nurarahayan legends are complex and varied, with tales emerging from different regions of Japan over centuries. In some accounts, he is the leader of other yokai, quietly managing their activities while maintaining a low profile among humans. In others, he is a solitary figure, using intelligence and discretion to navigate human spaces and interact with families without detection. His actions are rarely harmful. Instead, they provide subtle lessons about awareness, humility, and attentiveness to one's surroundings. The stories invite listeners to consider how the ordinary and supernatural coexist, highlighting the importance of observation, respect, and the acknowledgement of forces that may operate quietly yet powerfully behind the scenes. By framing the narrative in this reflective and measured way, storytellers create a meditative experience that is both immersive and relaxing. The domestic settings of Nurarahayan tales enhance the sense of intimacy and subtle suspense. Imagine a quiet home in the late evening, the soft flicker of lanterns casting shadows on tatami mats, the gentle hum of insects outside, and the faint aroma of tea drifting through the air. Within this serene environment, Nurarahayan may quietly observe the household, moving through rooms without drawing attention, his presence felt more than seen. The careful pacing and sensory detail allow the listener to feel the calm rhythm of the domestic space while maintaining awareness of the subtle, extraordinary presence of the yokai. This immersive storytelling technique emphasizes atmosphere, observation, and reflective engagement, making it particularly suited to a relaxed, contemplative audience or bedtime listening. Nurarahayan stories often explore human reactions to subtle supernatural phenomena. Families may notice small, inexplicable changes, such as misplaced items, faint movements, or a quiet sense of observation. These occurrences are rarely alarming. Instead, they provoke curiosity, reflection, and gentle intrigue. The narratives encourage attentiveness, mindfulness, and respect for both the seen and unseen elements of life, reinforcing cultural values and philosophical lessons within a calm, immersive experience. By presenting the supernatural in a domestic, familiar setting, storytellers allow listeners to engage with suspense and wonder in a safe, meditative way, enhancing both reflection and relaxation. The character of Nurarahayan also embodies cleverness, patience, and subtle influence. Unlike more aggressive or mischievous yokai, his approach is indirect, often guiding human behavior or subtly illustrating lessons through observation and interaction. This quality emphasizes the importance of discernment and awareness in navigating the world, encouraging listeners to consider how attention, curiosity, and mindfulness can reveal hidden truths and patterns in everyday life. The stories highlight the contrast between ordinary routines and the quiet presence of extraordinary forces, cultivating a rhythm of gentle suspense and reflective contemplation that is perfectly aligned with the goals of calming, sleep-friendly storytelling. The yokai's unobtrusive presence allows listeners to engage their imagination while maintaining a sense of security and relaxation. Nurarahayan tales often explore broader themes of leadership, social dynamics, and unseen influence. When depicted as the leader of other yokai, he demonstrates that authority and power do not always manifest through force. Intelligence, patience, and subtlety can be equally compelling. The narratives emphasize observation, strategy, and discretion, suggesting that understanding and navigating complex systems, whether social, natural, or supernatural, requires careful attention, respect, and thoughtful action. By integrating these themes into a calming narrative framework, the stories provide both intellectual engagement and gentle entertainment, balancing intrigue with reflective relaxation. Listeners are encouraged to consider the nuanced interplay of power, perception, and subtlety, experiencing suspense and insight in a measured, immersive manner. Tonight, as you picture a quiet home at dusk, with lanterns softly glowing and shadows stretching across tatami mats, imagine Nurarahayan quietly moving through the rooms. Perhaps he pauses to observe, a gourd-shaped head barely noticeable in the dim light, or sips tea at the head of the household without disturbing anyone. There is no urgency or danger, only a subtle invitation to notice, reflect, and consider the hidden patterns of life, both seen and unseen. The environment, rich in sensory detail, frames the yokai's presence in a way that fosters calm curiosity and gentle suspense. By following these tales, listeners can explore themes of awareness, observation, subtle influence, and cultural reflection, all within an immersive, relaxing experience. The narrative guides the mind through a gentle rhythm of contemplation, intrigue, and reflective attention, making Nurerahayan stories an ideal component of bedtime storytelling. Often depicted as a beautiful woman capable of transforming into a giant spider, the Jorogumo embodies themes of temptation, cunning, and the unexpected. Her stories typically unfold in serene natural settings such as forests, riversides, and abandoned temples, where the environment itself contributes to the atmosphere of suspense and intrigue. The narratives emphasize subtle tension, moral lessons, and the interplay between beauty and danger, allowing the listener to explore curiosity, reflection, and gentle suspense in a calm, immersive experience. As we follow the tales of the Jorogumo, it is important to appreciate both the aesthetic and symbolic dimensions of the stories, observing how folklore uses the natural world and supernatural elements to create a rich, contemplative narrative. The origins of Jorogumo legends are deeply intertwined with cautionary folklore, highlighting the consequences of desire, inattention, or moral lapses. These yokai are often depicted as testing human behavior, particularly that of travelers, hunters, or individuals drawn to beauty without discernment. Yet, despite the potentially dangerous nature of their abilities, the stories are crafted to provoke curiosity, reflection, and engagement rather than outright fear. A Jorogumo may weave elaborate webs in hidden caves, spin silken traps near rivers, or use her transformative powers to test human awareness and judgment. By presenting these situations within detailed, naturalistic settings, storytellers encourage listeners to imagine the scene fully while maintaining a calm, measured engagement with suspense and wonder. The narrative rhythm is deliberate, emphasizing sensory detail, environmental description, and careful pacing to sustain a meditative, immersive experience. The natural environments inhabited by the Jorogumo are described with great attention to texture, sound, and atmosphere, enhancing the listener's sense of immersion. Forests may be dense with mist, their trees whispering in the wind, while rivers reflect the pale light of the moon, and the soft rustle of leaves or distant insect calls punctuate the stillness. Within these spaces, the Jorogumo's presence is often introduced gradually, a glint of silk, an unusual shadow, or a subtle movement in the underbrush. These details allow the mind to engage in observation, curiosity, and gentle anticipation, without creating alarm or abrupt tension. The storytelling emphasizes rhythm, natural imagery, and measured suspense, fostering a reflective state of mind that is ideal for contemplation or relaxation, perfectly suited to the calm, immersive style of sleep-friendly folklore narration. Jorogumo tales also explore human interaction with the supernatural, emphasizing intelligence, attentiveness, and ethical reflection. Travelers or villagers encountering these yokai often face tests of perception, patience, or morality, illustrating that careful observation and respect for the unknown can prevent misfortune. In some stories, those who are wise, respectful, or humble may escape unharmed or even receive guidance, while those who act impulsively or recklessly may encounter difficulties. The narratives highlight that danger in these stories is not arbitrary, but serves as a means to explore human behavior, curiosity, and decision-making. Through this balance of caution, moral reflection, and environmental awareness, listeners are gently guided to engage their imagination thoughtfully while maintaining a sense of calm and immersion. The transformative abilities of the Jorogumo, shifting from spider to human, illustrate broader themes of perception, duality, and the interplay between appearance and reality. In folklore, her beauty and cunning can deceive those who are inattentive or overly trusting, while her spider form emphasizes both natural power and the consequences of misjudgment. These dual aspects encourage the audience to reflect on the complexity of human judgment, the subtlety of appearances, and the interconnectedness of nature and morality. By engaging with these themes in a measured, immersive narrative, listeners can explore curiosity and reflection simultaneously, cultivating a state of gentle tension and contemplative attention that aligns with the meditative rhythm of bedtime storytelling. The balance between suspense, aesthetic description, and moral insight ensures a narrative that is both engaging and soothing. The sensory and atmospheric details in Jorogumo stories are central to their immersive quality. Picture a forest at dusk, the moon casting silver light on dew-laden webs, the quiet hum of insects punctuating the still air, and the faint creak of branches swaying in the wind. Perhaps a traveler notices an unusual glint or hears a subtle, soft movement in the underbrush, signaling the presence of the yokai. These images invite the imagination to wander slowly, observing and reflecting without alarm, cultivating a sense of curiosity, attentiveness, and calm suspense. By blending natural description, supernatural intrigue, and ethical reflection, storytellers create a layered experience that engages the mind gently, allowing listeners to explore complex themes in a tranquil, meditative context. The narrative rhythm balances subtle tension with reflective calm, making the story ideal for immersive listening and contemplation. Tonight, as you imagine a misty forest, a quiet river, and the soft sounds of nocturnal life, picture the presence of a Jorogumo weaving her web quietly in the shadows. She may appear as a beautiful woman, subtly testing the attentiveness and judgment of any nearby travelers, or reveal her spider form in a moment of delicate suspense. There is no immediate threat, only the gentle rhythm of observation, reflection, and imaginative engagement. By following these tales, listeners are invited to consider themes of perception, morality, duality, and subtle consequence, while remaining immersed in a calming, richly detailed environment. The stories encourage a contemplative journey through the natural and supernatural, combining curiosity, gentle suspense, and meditative rhythm, allowing the mind to wander safely and peacefully through folklore, imagination, and cultural reflection. Unlike more neutral or playful yokai, onryo are driven by strong emotions, typically arising from betrayal, injustice, or untimely death, which anchor them to the mortal world. Their stories are deeply rooted in human experience, emphasizing the consequences of wrongdoing, the persistence of memory and emotion, and the delicate balance between justice and fear. Onryo narratives often unfold in quiet, liminal spaces such as empty streets, abandoned homes, or mist-laden forests, where the atmosphere of suspense and reflection encourages immersive attention without overwhelming the listener. These tales allow for both moral contemplation and imaginative engagement, creating a rhythm of gentle tension and meditative observation, ideal for a calm storytelling experience before sleep. The origins of onryo legends are intertwined with historical and societal contexts in Japan, reflecting cultural attitudes toward death, morality, and retribution. Many of these spirits are depicted as wronged individuals, often women, whose emotions are so powerful that they cannot move on, instead manifesting in the physical world to restore balance or convey warning. These stories highlight the importance of social harmony, ethical conduct, and awareness of interpersonal actions. By situating onryo in familiar human contexts, the narratives emphasize reflection on behavior, relationships, and responsibility, allowing listeners to consider the ripple effects of emotion and action in their own lives. The immersive nature of these tales is heightened by detailed environmental descriptions and sensory cues, which anchor the supernatural presence within a calm, yet evocative setting. The appearance and actions of onryo are often subtle, emphasizing psychological suspense and quiet reflection over overt terror. A shadowy figure in the corner of a room, a distant wail across an empty courtyard, or the soft ripple of movement in still water can signal the presence of an onryo, prompting careful observation and reflection. The stories cultivate a rhythm of anticipation and discovery, encouraging the listener to engage the imagination gently, exploring emotion, morality, and the interplay between the seen and unseen. These elements create an experience that is both intellectually engaging and soothing, as suspense is balanced with reflection and ethical consideration. By presenting onryo in a nuanced manner, storytellers maintain calm immersion while guiding the listener through a contemplative exploration of supernatural phenomena. The emotional depth of Onryo tales is central to their impact, illustrating the power of human feeling and unresolved conflict. Anger, grief, sorrow, and love can anchor spirits to the mortal realm, providing rich narrative opportunities for reflection and imaginative engagement. Listeners are invited to empathize with these spirits, considering the injustices or emotional turmoil that bind them to the world. This empathetic engagement is carefully moderated, ensuring that the emotional resonance deepens interest and reflection without creating alarm or fear. By emphasizing the humanity of Onryo, the stories highlight universal experiences of loss, regret, and longing, inviting listeners to explore complex emotions within the safe and immersive context of folklore. The slow pacing and deliberate unfolding of narrative detail support a meditative rhythm, ideal for sleep-friendly storytelling. The settings of Onryo narratives often reinforce both atmosphere and thematic resonance. Imagine an abandoned temple courtyard at night, the soft rustle of leaves, a distant bell tolling, and a mist rolling across stone pathways. In this environment, the presence of an Onryo can be subtly felt. A shadow moves in the corner of the eye, a faint sigh drifts on the wind, or a reflection flickers across still water. These sensory details cultivate immersive engagement, allowing the listener to inhabit the space without anxiety. The narrative draws attention to the interplay of environment, emotion, and supernatural presence, creating a layered experience that is reflective, suspenseful, and soothing. The calm yet deliberate pacing allows for quiet observation, encouraging curiosity, empathy, and imaginative exploration without abrupt tension or alarm. Interactions between humans and Onryo often involve recognition, respect, or ritual intervention. Offerings, prayers, and acts of remembrance can appease these spirits, facilitating closure and restoring balance. In some stories, the spirits act as guides or protectors once their grievances are addressed, while in others, unresolved anger gently lingers, serving as a reminder of moral consequences. The tales emphasize mindfulness, attentiveness, and ethical conduct, offering moral reflection that is naturally integrated into the narrative without moralizing or imposing fear. This balance of reflection, suspense, and cultural insight encourages the listener to engage thoughtfully with both story and setting, fostering a calm, immersive, and reflective experience that is ideally suited for bedtime storytelling. The symbolic significance of Onryo extends beyond individual narratives, reflecting broader cultural themes of justice, memory, and the consequences of action. By exploring the persistence of emotion beyond death, these stories emphasize that human experiences and moral choices resonate across time, influencing both the living and the departed. The yokai's presence reinforces attentiveness, empathy, and consideration, encouraging listeners to observe carefully, reflect deeply, and navigate their own experiences with mindfulness. By situating these themes within evocative, richly detailed environments, storytellers create a layered, immersive experience that blends suspense, reflection, and calm imaginative engagement. The rhythm of the narrative balances curiosity, ethical insight, and gentle tension, offering a uniquely meditative exploration of folklore, emotion, and cultural wisdom. Tonight, as you imagine an empty temple courtyard shrouded in mist, the soft murmur of wind through trees, and the distant toll of a bell, picture the subtle presence of an Onryo. Their appearance is not immediate or threatening. It is a quiet presence, a gentle reminder of emotion, reflection, and the consequences of unresolved events. Observe the shadows, listen for faint movement, and consider the stories that unfold within this space. There is no alarm, only an invitation to reflect, empathize, and engage the imagination with gentle curiosity. By following these tales, listeners can explore themes of emotion, justice, and cultural tradition, experiencing suspense, moral reflection, and immersive storytelling in a calm, meditative rhythm. The stories of Onryo guide the mind through quiet suspense, thoughtful contemplation, and serene imaginative exploration, providing an experience that is both educational and soothing, perfectly suited for reflective or sleep-friendly storytelling. Unlike many yokai that primarily dwell in forests or domestic spaces, Kappas are tied intimately to water, and their behavior often reflects both natural phenomena and human interaction with rivers and streams. They are typically depicted as small, humanoid creatures with a hollow, water-filled indentation atop their heads, which is the source of their strength and vitality. Kappas are mischievous by nature, sometimes playing harmless tricks on humans, but their stories also warn of potential danger for those who disrespect waterways or fail to follow proper safety and etiquette. Through their tales, listeners are invited to explore a blend of playful curiosity, cautionary reflection, and immersive storytelling, balancing intrigue with gentle suspense suitable for relaxed, contemplative listening. The origins of Kappa legends are deeply rooted in Japanese culture and history, reflecting both environmental awareness and societal values. By attributing supernatural agency to rivers and streams, these tales emphasize respect for nature, personal responsibility, and mindfulness of one's surroundings. Kappas are said to challenge humans in various ways, from testing swimming skill to engaging in contests of intelligence or moral judgment. The stories illustrate the interconnectedness of humans and their environment, showing that respect, attentiveness, and knowledge can influence outcomes. Through these narratives, listeners gain insight into cultural attitudes toward water, risk, and ethical behavior, all presented within immersive, vividly described scenes that evoke reflection, curiosity, and calm engagement without inducing fear. Kappa tales often describe settings with rich sensory detail, enhancing the immersive quality of the story. Imagine a quiet riverbank at dusk, the water reflecting the soft light of the fading sun, reeds swaying gently in a mild breeze, and the occasional splash of fish breaking the surface. Within this tranquil environment, a kappa might emerge, its form partially submerged, observing or interacting with the surroundings. The storytelling emphasizes gentle pacing and careful description, guiding the listener to notice subtle movements, the textures of the environment, and the quiet rhythm of life near the water. These sensory cues encourage imagination, attentiveness, and reflection, fostering a meditative state of mind that complements the calm, immersive style of sleep-friendly storytelling. The behavior and personality of kappas are varied, offering opportunities for both humor and moral reflection. They may play tricks on humans, such as stealing cucumbers, tipping over boats, or engaging in playful mischief. Yet, these same creatures can also demonstrate respect, gratitude, or helpfulness when treated appropriately, illustrating the importance of etiquette, attentiveness, and ethical behavior in human interactions. In some stories, humans outwit kappas, receive guidance from them, or earn their assistance, reinforcing cultural lessons about respect, intelligence, and harmony with nature. The narratives are carefully balanced to maintain intrigue and engagement without overwhelming suspense, allowing listeners to experience curiosity, amusement, and reflection within a calm, immersive framework. The physical and symbolic characteristics of kappas provide layers of meaning that deepen the storytelling experience. Their water-filled head, often central to their power, symbolizes the delicate balance between life, environment, and human interaction. Depletion of the water can render a kappa weak or powerless, emphasizing vulnerability and the consequences of neglecting natural or social rules. The creature's behaviors, mischievous yet teachable, playful yet potentially dangerous, reflect the duality of natural forces and human relationships with them. Through careful narrative pacing, rich environmental description, and ethical nuance, listeners are invited to explore these themes while remaining engaged in a meditative, contemplative manner. The result is a story that is simultaneously informative, entertaining, and soothing. Kappa stories also highlight interaction and problem-solving, often emphasizing human intelligence, observation, and adaptability. Encounters with these yokai encourage mindfulness, strategic thinking, and ethical reflection, creating opportunities for gentle suspense and imaginative engagement. By navigating the story's challenges, whether through etiquette, cleverness, or observation, listeners are drawn into a rhythm of curiosity, attention, and reflective thought, without fear or abrupt tension. The yokai's dual nature, blending playfulness with potential danger, ensures that the narrative maintains intrigue while remaining appropriate for calming, immersive storytelling designed to facilitate relaxation or contemplation. Tonight, As you picture a quiet river under the soft glow of evening light, the gentle ripple of water, and the rustling of reeds, imagine the subtle presence of a kappa emerging from the depths. Perhaps it observes quietly, plays a small trick, or engages in a test of intelligence or morality, its movements slow and deliberate. There is no urgency or danger, only a gentle rhythm of curiosity, attention, and imaginative reflection. By following these tales, listeners can explore themes of respect, harmony with nature, ethical behavior, and the balance of playfulness and caution in interactions with the world. The immersive sensory details, rich description, and calm pacing guide the mind gently through the story, fostering curiosity, reflection, and a meditative state that aligns perfectly with the goals of sleep-friendly yokai storytelling. Kappa narratives provide a serene, yet engaging journey, blending cultural insight, subtle suspense, and imaginative exploration in a gentle, contemplative rhythm, allowing the listener to experience both relaxation and thoughtful engagement. These yokai are often depicted as small, mischievous children with a single, large eye in the center of their forehead. Unlike other spirits that may seek to harm or frighten, Hidetsume Kozo often engage in harmless tricks or pranks, creating stories that are suspenseful yet gentle, balancing curiosity and reflection without generating fear. Their presence challenges expectations of normalcy, prompting both humans in the tales and listeners to consider perception, difference, and the unexpected in everyday life. Through these narratives, the audience is invited into a calm, immersive experience that blends wonder, intrigue, and meditative storytelling, perfect for reflective listening or bedtime contemplation. The origins of Hidetsume Kozo legends are rooted in cultural reflections on childhood, behavior, and societal norms. In folklore, these spirits sometimes act as mirrors to human behavior, revealing the consequences of carelessness, inattentiveness, or mischief. At the same time, they embody the unpredictability of the world and the need to observe carefully, illustrating that even seemingly small or unusual presences can have meaning or impact. By framing their actions within everyday environments, storytellers encourage listeners to reflect on observation, attention, and subtle consequences in life. The tales allow for gentle suspense, imaginative engagement, and ethical reflection, all within a calm, meditative rhythm that aligns with the immersive style of sleep-friendly folklore narration. The environments in which Hidetsume Kozo appear are carefully constructed to balance ordinary domestic settings with subtle supernatural intrusion. Imagine a quiet village at dusk, lanterns flickering in windows, the soft murmur of wind through trees, and the occasional creak of wooden floors. Within these familiar spaces, a small figure with a single eye might peek from behind a door, peer around a corner, or silently observe a room's occupants. The storytelling emphasizes sensory detail, the soft rustle of clothing, the subtle sound of footsteps, or the faint shifting of shadows, allowing listeners to inhabit the environment fully while maintaining a sense of calm curiosity and reflective engagement. The gradual revelation of the yokai's presence fosters attentiveness, imaginative observation, and gentle suspense without alarm. Hidetsume Kozo narratives often explore the interaction between humans and the supernatural, emphasizing learning, observation, and ethical reflection. Children or villagers encountering these spirits may experience surprise, mild confusion, or amusement, prompting reflection on perception, behavior, and attentiveness. In many stories, the yokai's tricks are harmless, serving to teach lessons about caution, observation, or consideration, rather than to punish or frighten. The narratives balance intrigue and reflection, guiding the listener through moments of suspense, insight, and imaginative exploration in a measured, calming rhythm. Through this interplay of environment, character, and action, the stories cultivate a meditative experience in which curiosity and attentiveness are rewarded, fostering gentle engagement without tension. The visual and symbolic qualities of Hidetsume Kozo deepen the narrative experience, offering multiple layers of meaning. Their single eye represents perception, focus, and the ability to see beyond the ordinary, while their childlike form reflects innocence, curiosity, and the unpredictability of life. By engaging with these qualities, listeners are encouraged to explore themes of awareness, attentiveness, and the unexpected, all within a safe and contemplative framework. The stories prompt reflection on how humans interpret and respond to difference, anomaly, and subtle disruption, while maintaining a calm, immersive, and meditative atmosphere. The yokai's playful yet enigmatic nature ensures that the narrative remains engaging, thought-provoking, and soothing. Sensory details, pacing, and atmosphere are central to the experience of Hidetsume Kozo tales. As you picture a quiet village street at twilight, the faint murmur of wind through trees, the soft clatter of distant footsteps, and the gentle sway of lantern light, imagine a small figure moving quietly through the shadows. Its single eye observes, its presence is subtle, and the mind is drawn to reflection, curiosity, and gentle attention. There is no urgency, no fear, only the calm rhythm of observation and imaginative engagement. The stories of Hidetsume Kozo allow the listener to explore perception, ethical reflection, and the wonder of the unexpected, while remaining immersed in richly detailed environments that support relaxation, curiosity, and meditative contemplation. Tonight, as you envision quiet homes and soft, flickering lanterns lining a deserted street, imagine the presence of a Hidetsume Kozo quietly moving between shadows. Its one large eye observes the surroundings, curious and watchful, yet harmless, blending the ordinary and the extraordinary seamlessly. The narrative encourages you to reflect on perception, attentiveness, and the surprises hidden in everyday life. Through detailed sensory description, careful pacing, and a meditative tone, listeners are invited to experience intrigue, reflection, and gentle suspense simultaneously. The story provides a serene journey into the world of yokai, cultivating curiosity, imaginative engagement, and calm contemplation, perfectly aligned with the goals of immersive, sleep-friendly Japanese folklore storytelling. These spirits are often depicted carrying an infant, wandering along roadsides or near village boundaries, embodying a quiet, poignant presence rather than overt malevolence. The narratives surrounding Ubyum are deeply emotional and reflective, emphasizing themes of care, loss, maternal instinct, and the delicate balance between life and death. The stories encourage the listener to engage with empathy, imagination, and cultural reflection, cultivating a contemplative, meditative experience. By situating the Ubyum in familiar environments and framing their presence gently, storytellers create narratives that are immersive, emotionally resonant, and ideal for calm, sleep-friendly listening. The origins of Ubyum legends are rooted in historical and social contexts, reflecting societal concerns about maternal mortality, family care, and community responsibility. These spirits often serve as gentle reminders of the fragility of life and the importance of compassion, ethical behavior, and attentiveness to the needs of others. Unlike more mischievous or vengeful yokai, Ubyum act as quiet symbols of emotional truth, encouraging reflection rather than fear. Their presence in folklore underscores cultural values surrounding family, empathy, and communal support, highlighting the enduring connection between human experience and the supernatural. Listeners are invited to consider these themes thoughtfully, exploring the balance of narrative tension, reflection, and calm immersion. Ubyum narratives typically unfold in liminal or transitional spaces, roadsides, village outskirts, bridges, or near forest edges, where the boundary between the human and spiritual worlds is most perceptible. The settings are described with meticulous attention to sensory detail. The soft rustle of leaves, the faint creak of wooden planks, the distant call of nocturnal birds, and the gentle shimmer of moonlight on a quiet path. These environmental cues enhance the listener's sense of presence, anchoring the supernatural within serene, reflective spaces. As the Ubyum appears, the narrative pacing remains deliberate and gentle, emphasizing quiet suspense, observation, and reflective engagement. The interplay of natural detail and supernatural intrigue creates an immersive, meditative experience suitable for contemplation or sleep. The behavior and symbolism of Ubyum are multifaceted, combining subtle suspense with emotional depth. They are often portrayed as guiding, protecting, or seeking assistance for the child they carry, reflecting both maternal instinct and spiritual purpose. Occasionally, They test human attentiveness, trust, or ethical behavior, highlighting the importance of careful observation and moral consideration. Unlike yokai that inspire fear, Ubium foster empathy, understanding, and reflective engagement, allowing the listener to explore themes of life, death, and the human condition within a calm, immersive narrative. The storytelling emphasizes patience, observation, and gentle suspense, inviting the audience to contemplate both the supernatural and its symbolic resonance in human life. The presence of Ubium also provides insight into cultural and philosophical understandings of death and the afterlife. By linking maternal spirits to the ongoing care of the living or their own children, these stories illustrate that relationships, responsibilities, and emotions do not end with death, but continue in subtle, meaningful ways. The yokai's interaction with humans often involves trust, recognition, and ethical behavior, reinforcing cultural lessons about attentiveness, compassion, and the delicate balance between the mortal and spiritual realms. Through these narratives, listeners can engage with reflective, meditative storytelling that blends ethical insight, emotional resonance, and gentle suspense, maintaining calm immersion throughout. Sensory richness is central to the immersive quality of Ubium stories. Imagine a quiet village path under soft moonlight, the gentle murmur of a river nearby, and the rustling of leaves in a gentle breeze. Amid this tranquil environment, a figure carrying an infant may appear, their presence delicate yet palpable. The narrative emphasizes subtle movement, soft ambient sounds, and careful description of posture and expression, allowing listeners to inhabit the scene fully while remaining relaxed and contemplative. The pacing encourages the imagination to wander thoughtfully, exploring emotion, reflection, and cultural nuance without fear or abrupt tension. The storytelling rhythm balances curiosity, empathy, and gentle suspense, creating a meditative narrative ideal for sleep-friendly listening. Tonight, as you envision a quiet road lined with trees, a soft breeze rustling through the leaves, and the faint shimmer of moonlight reflecting on the path, imagine the gentle presence of an Ubium appearing. Perhaps she pauses, holding an infant, silently observing, or softly seeks guidance or help, her presence quiet yet emotionally resonant. There is no danger, only a subtle invitation to reflection, empathy, and attentive observation. By following these tales, listeners can engage with themes of motherhood, care, mortality, and ethical attentiveness, while remaining immersed in richly described environments. The story guides the mind through gentle suspense, emotional resonance, and contemplative observation, providing a calm, reflective journey into the world of yokai, folklore, and human experience, perfectly suited for immersive, meditative, and sleep-friendly storytelling. Often depicted as a beautiful woman dressed in white, wandering snowy landscapes, she embodies both the serenity and danger of winter. Unlike many other yokai, the Yukiana is closely tied to natural elements, particularly snowstorms, icy nights, and isolated mountain paths. Her stories explore themes of beauty, danger, mortality, and the transient nature of life, creating narratives that are simultaneously reflective and suspenseful. The listener is invited into a calm, immersive experience where the quiet majesty of snow-covered landscapes is interwoven with subtle tension and imaginative intrigue, perfectly suited for meditative, sleep-friendly storytelling. The origins of Yukiana legends are rooted in both folklore and natural observation, reflecting human encounters with the dangers of winter and the awe-inspiring beauty of snow-laden landscapes. Travelers, villagers, and mountain dwellers often told stories of a mysterious woman appearing during snowstorms, sometimes guiding lost souls, other times leading them astray. Her actions are frequently symbolic, representing the unpredictable forces of nature and the delicate balance between life and death. By situating the Yukiana in these harsh yet beautiful environments, storytellers create a rhythm of reflective suspense, allowing listeners to contemplate the interplay between vulnerability, beauty, and the unknown, all while remaining immersed in a calm, meditative narrative. The settings of Yukiana tales enhance the immersive and contemplative experience. Imagine a quiet mountain pass blanketed in snow, the soft crunch of footsteps underfoot, the faint whisper of icy winds through bare branches, and the muted glow of moonlight reflecting off untouched snow. In this serene yet formidable landscape, the Yukiana may appear, her figure delicate and almost translucent against the winter backdrop. The storytelling emphasizes sensory detail, highlighting subtle movements, sounds, and shifts in light and shadow, allowing the listener to inhabit the environment fully. This careful attention to setting encourages calm observation, gentle suspense, and imaginative engagement, maintaining a meditative tone throughout the narrative. The Yukiana's behavior often balances danger with mystery, reflecting the dual nature of winter itself. She can be a guide, offering safety to those who are respectful, or a perilous presence, leading travelers astray or freezing them with her icy touch. These dualities explore themes of morality, awareness, and human interaction with the environment, illustrating that attentiveness and respect can influence outcomes in both supernatural and natural contexts. The narratives emphasize measured pacing, reflective observation, and subtle tension, allowing the listener to engage with curiosity, ethical reflection, and imaginative immersion without experiencing alarm or fear. By framing suspense within beauty and stillness, storytellers craft experiences that are both captivating and soothing. The symbolism of the Yukiana extends beyond her immediate actions, representing the impermanence of life, the transience of beauty, and the quiet power of natural forces. Her presence reminds listeners of the delicate balance between human endeavor and environmental unpredictability, inviting reflection on both mortality and resilience. Through her stories, listeners are encouraged to consider the subtle interplay of perception, choice, and consequence, exploring themes of respect, caution, and ethical mindfulness within a serene, immersive framework. The narrative encourages attention to detail, reflection on human behavior, and a contemplative engagement with natural and supernatural elements, fostering a meditative state ideal for sleep or relaxation. Sensory and atmospheric elements are central to the immersive experience of Yukiana tales. Imagine a forest blanketed in snow, the soft crunch of footsteps muffled by the thick white cover, the distant howl of a winter wind through skeletal branches, and the silver glow of moonlight reflecting off icy surfaces. Within this quiet, reflective space, the subtle presence of the Yukiana may appear, a figure moving silently across the landscape, her form blending with the snow. The storytelling emphasizes rhythm, atmosphere, and gradual revelation, guiding the listener's attention to both the environment and the figure without creating alarm. The gentle pacing, combined with vivid sensory detail, cultivates calm curiosity, reflective engagement, and a serene, imaginative experience. The interaction between humans and the Yukiana often highlights ethical behavior, attentiveness, and mindfulness. Travelers who are respectful or cautious may receive guidance or avoid danger, while those who act carelessly or arrogantly may encounter peril, illustrating the consequences of choices in both ordinary and extraordinary circumstances. This interplay fosters reflective engagement, curiosity, and gentle suspense, encouraging the listener to observe and consider without feeling threatened. Through these narratives, the audience experiences a meditative journey into the balance of human behavior, natural forces, and the subtle influence of supernatural presence, all conveyed with calm pacing and immersive detail. Tonight, as you imagine a quiet, snow-covered mountain path, the soft crunch of snow underfoot, and the whispering of cold winds, picture the subtle presence of the Yukiana appearing. She glides silently across the landscape, her figure almost translucent against the snow, evoking both awe and gentle tension. There is no immediate danger, only an invitation to observe, reflect, and engage the imagination with curiosity and attentiveness. By following these tales, listeners can explore themes of mortality, beauty, ethical behavior, and respect for nature, all within an immersive, serene environment. The story guides the mind through reflective contemplation, gentle suspense, and imaginative exploration, providing a calm, meditative journey into folklore, human behavior, and the mysterious beauty of winter landscapes. Often depicted as ordinary humans at first glance, these spirits reveal a completely smooth, featureless face when approached, creating a quiet, lingering sense of wonder and unease. Unlike more violent or aggressive yokai, the Naprobo is rarely harmful, instead embodying themes of perception, fear of the unknown, and the subtle disorientation of encountering something beyond ordinary understanding. Their stories often unfold in quiet, dimly lit streets, deserted pathways, or during late-night encounters, emphasizing atmosphere, reflective suspense, and immersive observation. Listeners are invited to explore curiosity, imagination, and gentle tension, experiencing a meditative rhythm that blends fascination with calm, contemplative storytelling ideal for sleep-friendly listening. The origins of Naprobo legends are closely tied to societal reflections on identity, human perception, and the unknown aspects of the world. These spirits appear suddenly, revealing their faceless form at the precise moment when observation and expectation meet, challenging assumptions about reality and encouraging reflection on how humans perceive and interact with others. Often, stories involve travelers, villagers, or individuals alone at night, encountering what seems ordinary until a subtle revelation alters their understanding. By framing the experience within familiar environments, storytellers cultivate gentle suspense and immersive engagement, allowing listeners to explore themes of uncertainty, perception, and the limits of human awareness without fear or alarm. The narrative rhythm emphasizes calm observation, sensory detail, and reflective pacing, guiding the mind into a meditative state of imaginative exploration. The settings of Naprobo tales enhance both intrigue and immersion. Picture a quiet village at night, lanterns dimly illuminating narrow streets, the soft rustle of wind through trees, and distant sounds of nocturnal creatures moving silently in the dark. In these tranquil environments, a figure may appear to approach the listener or protagonist, seeming ordinary until the moment of revelation, when the faceless visage is exposed. The storytelling emphasizes atmosphere, visual and auditory details, and measured pacing, allowing listeners to inhabit the scene fully while maintaining calm, reflective engagement. The narrative relies on subtle tension rather than shock, encouraging curiosity, attention, and immersive observation within a soothing, contemplative framework. The behavior and symbolism of Naprobo often explore themes of perception, identity, and the unexpected. These yokai do not typically act with malice, instead highlighting the delicate interplay between expectation and reality. Encounters often provoke surprise, reflection, or mild disorientation, prompting the listener or protagonist to consider the limits of perception and the subtle mysteries hidden in everyday life. This narrative approach encourages observation, mindfulness, and thoughtful reflection, all within the safe confines of a meditative story environment. By maintaining calm pacing and immersive description, storytellers ensure that the audience experiences fascination and gentle suspense rather than fear, fostering an atmosphere of quiet contemplation. The faceless nature of the Naprobo carries symbolic weight, emphasizing the fluidity of identity, the unknowable aspects of others, and the unpredictability of life. Encounters with these spirits suggest that appearances can be deceiving, that curiosity and attentiveness are essential, and that human perception is both limited and malleable. The narratives encourage reflection on these philosophical and ethical themes, blending subtle suspense with cultural insight, imagination, and immersive engagement. Listeners are invited to explore the boundaries between ordinary and extraordinary, familiar and unfamiliar, known and unknown, all while remaining immersed in a calm, contemplative experience designed to promote relaxation and meditative reflection. Sensory and environmental details are central to the immersive quality of Naprobo tales. Imagine a deserted street lined with paper lanterns, the soft murmur of wind brushing against walls, the faint echo of distant footsteps, and the shadow of a lone figure approaching silently. Within this quiet, reflective space, the subtle revelation of the faceless form encourages observation, curiosity, and thoughtful engagement. The narrative emphasizes gentle pacing, atmospheric description, and gradual development of suspense, allowing the listener to experience wonder and mild tension while remaining calm and relaxed. Through these carefully crafted details, the stories cultivate attention, imaginative reflection, and a meditative rhythm, blending fascination, cultural insight, and gentle suspense seamlessly. Tonight, as you imagine walking through a quiet village at night, the soft glow of lanterns illuminating narrow streets, and the gentle whisper of wind in the trees, picture the subtle approach of an opera bow. At first, the figure seems ordinary, blending with the surroundings, but as you observe more closely, the smooth, featureless face is revealed. There is no immediate danger, only a quiet invitation to reflect, notice, and engage with curiosity and imagination. By following these tales, listeners can explore themes of identity, perception, and the unexpected, experiencing suspense, reflective observation, and immersive engagement within a serene, meditative environment. The story guides the mind through gentle tension, philosophical reflection, and imaginative exploration, providing a calming, contemplative journey into the world of yokai and the subtle mysteries that inhabit everyday life. After exploring the many forms of yokai, from the alluring Jorigomo to the vengeful Onryo, the playful Kappas, the one-eyed Hidetsum Kozo, the sorrowful Ubyum, the ethereal Yukiana, and the faceless Naparabo, this final section invites the listener to consider the broader significance of these tales. Each story offers a window into human experience, revealing lessons about morality, perception, empathy, and respect for both the natural and supernatural worlds. The narrative encourages reflection on the subtle ways that folklore shapes understanding, cultivates imagination, and provides a meditative space for curiosity and introspection. By weaving these stories together, listeners are guided through a calming journey that celebrates both the mystery and the wisdom embedded in Japanese cultural narratives. Throughout these tales, the consistent thread is the delicate balance between suspense and serenity, the interplay of human behavior with the natural and supernatural, and the power of storytelling to evoke reflection and imaginative engagement. Each yokai serves as a symbol, whether of caution, curiosity, moral consequence, empathy, or respect for the unknown. In the case of the Jorigomo, we observed beauty entwined with danger, revealing that appearances may deceive and that attentiveness is essential. With the Onryo, we explored the lingering consequences of human action and unresolved emotion. The Kappas taught lessons about respect, intelligence, and harmony with nature, while the Hidetsum Kozo emphasized perception and the subtle mysteries present in everyday life. The Ubyum invited empathy and reflection on mortality and care. The Yukiana highlighted the transient beauty and danger of natural forces, and the Naparabo challenged assumptions and perception itself. Together, these stories create a tapestry that blends wonder, morality, and reflective suspense, offering a holistic immersion into the realm of Japanese folklore. The final section also emphasizes the sensory and atmospheric elements that have accompanied these narratives, which are essential for creating a meditative, sleep-friendly experience. Listeners are reminded of the quiet rustle of leaves in forests, the soft murmur of rivers, the shimmer of moonlight on snow, and the subtle shadows cast by flickering lanterns. These details have guided the imagination throughout the journey, encouraging careful observation, reflection, and immersive engagement with the stories. By highlighting the interplay of environment, narrative pacing, and supernatural presence, the storytelling maintains a calming rhythm, balancing gentle suspense with reflective thought. This sensory richness allows the audience to remain fully immersed, contemplating the moral, ethical, and emotional dimensions of each tale while enjoying a serene and meditative experience. The section continues by drawing attention to the emotional resonance of the yokai stories, encouraging listeners to consider the human experiences that inspired these supernatural narratives. Anger, grief, curiosity, caution, and empathy are all explored, showing how folklore serves as a mirror to human life and behavior. By reflecting on the challenges, mistakes, and ethical dilemmas faced by characters in these tales, listeners are gently guided to examine their own perceptions and choices in daily life. This reflective process is subtle and immersive, with storytelling that emphasizes calm observation, gentle suspense, and the quiet wonder of discovery. The narratives encourage mindful engagement, fostering both relaxation and introspective thought, perfectly suited to the goals of bedtime storytelling and meditative listening. As the section unfolds, attention is given to the interconnectedness of the stories themselves, highlighting thematic and symbolic links across the various yokai. The playfulness of the kappa resonates with the mischief of the Hidetsum Kozo. The moral reflection invoked by the Onryo echoes in the cautionary aspects of the Jorigomo, and the transient beauty and ethereal quality of the Yukiana complements the quiet poignancy of the Ubyum. The faceless Naparabo ties together the themes of perception, expectation, and human interaction with the unknown. These connections allow the audience to perceive the broader cultural patterns, ethical considerations, and philosophical insights embedded in Japanese folklore, encouraging a sense of harmony, reflection, and thoughtful contemplation. The narrative invites the listener to appreciate the intricate tapestry of stories while remaining immersed in a calm, sensory-rich environment. The storytelling also emphasizes the meditative rhythm that has been present throughout the series, combining slow pacing, atmospheric description, and careful attention to detail. Listeners are encouraged to breathe in the ambience of each setting, observe the gentle movements of characters, and reflect on the ethical and emotional implications of each tale. By maintaining this measured rhythm, the narrative allows the mind to wander gently, cultivating curiosity, imagination, and thoughtful reflection without introducing fear or abrupt tension. The immersive qualities of the stories support relaxation, mental clarity, and a sense of connection to both the cultural heritage of Japan and the universal human experiences that the yokai reflect. Finally, the section concludes by inviting the listener to integrate the lessons and reflections from the entire journey, considering how folklore, imagination, and cultural narrative intersect with human life. The yokai, though supernatural, serve as mirrors, guides, and gentle provocateurs, encouraging attentiveness, empathy, and understanding. The tales have traversed forests, rivers, snowy mountains, quiet villages, and abandoned temples, creating a comprehensive journey through varied environments, moods, and ethical reflections. Listeners are encouraged to carry the contemplative atmosphere into their own mental and emotional space, embracing curiosity, mindfulness, and a calm sense of wonder. The immersive storytelling experience concludes with a sense of closure, tranquility, and reflective satisfaction, leaving the audience with both knowledge of Japanese yokai and the serene, meditative state fostered throughout the narrative. Tonight, as you reflect on the journey through the mysterious and enchanting world of Japanese yokai, picture the subtle beauty of forests, rivers, snowy mountains, quiet streets, and moonlit landscapes. Remember the lessons of attentiveness, empathy, moral reflection, and imaginative engagement, allowing the stories of Jorigomo, Onryo, Kappas, Hidetsum Kozo, Ubyum, Yukiana, and Naparabo to resonate in your mind. There is no urgency, no fear, only the gentle rhythm of observation, reflection, and immersive curiosity. As the narrative concludes, allow the calm, meditative atmosphere to linger, carrying with it the wisdom, wonder, and quiet suspense of centuries of folklore. The journey through these stories leaves the mind at peace, open to imagination, reflection, and the subtle magic that exists in both the supernatural world and the human experience.